Hi, Steve here, and today I want to talk about the games I beat in 2019 across many different consoles. I beat 20 games in 2019. I think that's a little better than 2018. I think it was like 12 or 13. A lot of these are short arcade games or fighting games, but I count them because I had some difficulty with a few of them. I thought I had a good overall year. I even got a few RPGs mixed up in there. I find this topic kind of interesting. I've been following a lot of people that have done similar videos. I'm kind of late to the party. I haven't had much time to do a video like this. Don't have a lot of free quiet time to myself. Well, the kids and the wife and the family and the work and everything. But I've been really wanting to do this video talking about the games I beat in 2019. Anyway, I want to share mine. I have some really good recommendations in here. I'm going to start off with these digital games that I beat. And these are mostly fighting games. On my Nintendo Switch, Karnov's Revenge, that's Fighter's History 2 by Data East. Pretty similar to Fighter's History 1, but just improved upon. Probably the closest thing to Street Fighter you'll see in a 2D fighting game. Of course, Karnov is the boss again. It was really, really hard. I had it on normal setting. It took me forever to beat it. Some of the characters are just so cheap. But I finally got through Karnov's Revenge. I think it was a game that was on Neo Geo by Data East. Really cool fighting game. I love old 2D fighting games. Night Slasher is a really cool beat 'em up by Data East. I beat that on my Switch. Sort of Final Fight style beat 'em up, but it's horror themed. So you're beating up zombies, vampires, monsters. There's a couple characters. I think there's like a ninja and a cyborg guy, and there's a Van Helsing character. The Van Helsing character, his throw is a DDT, so I thought that was pretty cool. It plays just like Final Fight, though. I really enjoyed it. I think it's really underrated. I don't hear people talk about it too much. Night Slashers. Sly Spy, I finally beat that by Data East. Another Data East game on my Switch. That's the game I always saw at the arcades, and I thought it looked like a James Bond game. And I thought I remember reading something about it was intentionally developed to be a James Bond game, but they couldn't get the license to have it Bond, so they made it like an American spy, and they called it Sly Spy, and they had it set in the United States, or he's an American instead of a British agent. But the game is so James Bond, it's probably more James Bond than any other real James Bond game. It has the bosses are pretty much based on Bond henchmen like Jaws. There's Odd Job. There's the underwater diving suit from For Your Eyes Only is a boss. And then there's like underwater scuba diving, a spear gun scene, it's kind of like Thunderball. There's a motorcycle level, it looks just like Never Say Never Again, like the spy's he has a dress suit on, he's on a motorcycle with a helmet. This reminds me of Never Say Never Again. And then there's on foot levels. Looks a lot like 007 The Duel for Sega Genesis. I think one of the power-ups is even called Golden Gun. And then the intro, one of the intro screens, or the high score screen, is actually a poster of Living Daylights. So I know that Bond was somehow incorporated into this game because it is the exact picture they used for the cover of Living Daylights. It has Bond pointing his gun through the silhouette of Bond pointing his gun through the gun barrel, and then Kara is there with a gun, like you see the backside of her. It's the exact picture from Living Daylights. So I really assume it had some ties to Bond in development. Fatal Fury, Mark of the Wolves, that's a really amazing game, and I never got around to playing it. I finally played it on Switch. That's like so smooth. One of my only complaints about the early Fatal Furies is they're kind of slow and floaty. They don't really have the precision of Street Fighter 2, but Mark of the Wolves does. Mark of the Wolves is a fantastic game. Really gorgeous to look like. I think it's aged very well. Not too many of the familiar Fatal Fury characters in there. Terry Bogart's in there. He looks more like Leon from Resident Evil 4. He's got like a flight jacket on and kind of longer hair, no hat. Or not longer hair, but like his hair's loose and he's got no hat. A really cool game though. Okay, now on to some other fighting games. I'll get through the fighting games first because a lot of people don't count those as real games if you beat them because you have unlimited continues and they're kind of short, but some of these are very difficult. This is not one of them that were difficult. I beat this with no continues. Virtua Fighter anime. I watched the Virtua Fighter anime this year on YouTube, and it's probably one of my favorite animes I've ever seen. It's kind of cheesy, but it's really fun. It's really martial arts themed. That's kind of like what I like about Virtua Fighter. Some of these fighting games get really wacky with like science fiction and fantasy, but Virtua Fighter has a little bit of that, but it kind of sticks more like to the martial arts themes, which I like. And so I really like that anime, and I didn't realize that there was a video game of the anime. So it follows the story of the anime with little cutscenes. Then when you fight, it's pretty much typical Virtua Fighting. Really good for an 8-bit system. The graphics and the controls are really good with only 2 buttons. Really enjoyed that game. Street Fighter EX2. I finally found a decent price on Street Fighter EX2. I had never played it. I only played one. I always loved EX1. This thing's amazing. This is probably one of the best Street Fighter games on PlayStation. Really good controls, graphics. Of course, every game on PlayStation 2 that's 3D looks kind of blocky, but I think it's still gorgeous. Most of your favorite Street Fighter characters are on here. This one doesn't have sidestep. It plays just more like Street Fighter 2 or Street Fighter 4. Not so much like kind of 3D arena like Tekken. Street Fighter EX3. This one's kind of weird. Beat that one. This is really unusual. I can't. This really isn't one of my favorites, but it was worth a play. Okay. Oh, here's two gifts from Jav Geez. I beat both of them. Capcom Fighting Evolution. Nothing too special, but I really enjoyed it. I think it's a cool compilation of Capcom characters on a fighting game. So it's mostly Street Fighter, but enjoyed that one a lot. Here's another one from Jav Geez. Samurai Showdown 5. This is one of the hardest fighting games I ever beat. I thought I was going to have to give up on it. The only games I ever gave up on that were fighting games, I played some a lot that were hard, and I just kept playing for a couple hours until I beat the boss. The only 2 that I gave up on were Art of Fighting 2 and Galaxy Fight. The last boss on Galaxy Fight, I could not do it. I don't know if I'm ever going to go back to that or what, but I thought this was going to be another one like that. Once you get to higher stages, man, I just could not deal with the opponents. And then the last boss was insanely hard. I didn't think I was going to beat this, but I finally did. I have pictures if you don't believe me. I took on my telephone. Yeah, really cool game from Jav Geez. A really beautiful game. I don't know if this was original Neo Geo hardware because they really went a long way with the games. If so, I don't know if there was like a newer engine for the Neo Geos because this is a gorgeous game. Another gorgeous game I beat on my Art of Fighting anthology is Art of Fighting 3. That's got to be one of the best fighting games on Neo Geo. Art of Fighting 1 and 2 are good. Like, it's really satisfying once you get the pattern down and you kind of get the feel of it down and you finally beat some of the bosses because they're so freaking hard. I've been trying to one credit clear Art of Fighting 1 on the hardest difficulty the last year. I think the closest I ever got was like 6 credits on hardest. It's freaking hard. But I was really getting into Art of Fighting this year. I love this series. It's tied in with Fatal Fury. It's kind of like the prequel to Fatal Fury. And I love the feel of these games. It reminds me of those early 90s martial art action movies, usually like Van Damme or Seagal, or some of those really cheesy straight-to-video rip knockoffs, martial art movies. I really love those movies, and this kind of has the feel of it. Oh, but anyway, Art of Fighting 3 is the one I beat this year, and that is a freaking gorgeous game. That one's smoother and faster. And then the plot is totally bonkers. Like, you're going to Mexico. There's like some dude that's experimenting with some kind of virus, and he turns into like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type character. It's a really weird plot premise for a fighting game, but it's really cool. The first one, you're trying to rescue the girl. This one's a really weird plot, and it all takes place down in Mexico. And the backgrounds are gorgeous too, and the music is awesome. There's one stage I particularly like in this, where you're fighting in like a back alley in like a Mexican town, and then it's kind of dusky or nighttime. And in the background, you see like a street fair or a street celebration going on. You can kind of hear like the drums and the percussion and the horns going on in the background of this like festival that's going on, and you're in a back alley. I really like the atmosphere of this game. Oh, this is probably my favorite Neo Geo game. Gamers Manuel sent me this. SVC Chaos. I beat this several times. I love this game. It has all of my favorite Street Fighter characters and all of my favorite SNK characters. It's kind of like Fatal Fury meets Street Fighter. And this one is done by one of SNK's people, or one of their development teams. This was not Capcom, but I guess they were able to use Capcom characters. It's really kind of surreal to see Street Fighter characters in a Neo Geo game, but they look good and they play well. I think there's only 4 attack buttons instead of 6, but it still works fine for me. Adore that game. Oh, Kakuto Chojin. That's a gift from Segalicious. Over at the Virtua Bros. I watched a video on this he did that was really well done, and a little kind of review of this and the director behind it. I can't think of his name right now. This is a gorgeous looking game. Like, you could tell this could only have been done on Xbox at the time. It's kind of simple. It might not be as fun as Mortal Kombat, but it looks a lot better. Fun little fighting game, a lot of little combos, a lot of weird little characters. This one might be more simple than Mortal Kombat. I don't think you have like projectiles or anything. It's mostly just like combos. And I think there's low, medium, high attack. So you have you can attack different parts of your opponent, like high, low, and medium. But it's a really cool game as far as I'm concerned. Now on to the real games. Oh man, I played some good games this year. This is probably the best year for gaming for me ever. 2019. Here's another gift from Jav Geez. Really nice gift too. Castlevania Symphony of the Night. This is the first Castlevania game I ever beat. The others are too hard for me. If you're kind of interested in Castlevania, but you don't know where to start, I would start with this one. This one, you can play it at your own pace. This is pretty much an RPG, so you can just grind around and level up, power up. It's the Metroid style, so you're exploring this big castle, getting puzzle pieces to unlock new areas. It can be pretty hard, but the way I play RPGs, I just grind until I'm overpowered, and then I can breeze through the game. I find it really satisfying. And this castle is really fun to explore. It's kind of creepy, eerie, big castle. It has a false ending. Once you beat the game, it's only halfway done. The whole map inverts, and then it gets really scary. Really enjoy this game. All the little power-ups you can get to unlock new areas. It's so fun. So it's pretty much like Metroid, only RPG. Sometimes Metroid kind of gets tedious because you go back and forth, back and forth. You're not really accomplishing anything. But on this one, as you go, you're constantly killing stuff and leveling up to making your guy more powerful. His Alucard's little guy's name, I think he's Dracula's grandson or his son. And then you can unlock Richter Belmont at the end. And then his playthrough of the game is more like a traditional Castlevania with... it's not RPG related. Like I think his health bar and everything just stays the same. And he controls more like the old clunky Castlevanias. This Alucard guy really controls well. He doesn't always just have a whip. He controls more like Ryu from Ninja Gaiden. This is probably within the top 3 I played this year. I don't know. It's hard to narrow down what my favorite game was in 2019 because I played so many good ones, but that's up there. Oh, here's another one that's up there. Final Fantasy VII. I beat that for the first time this year, and it is as amazing as everyone says it is. Even if it is old, I got more immersed into this than any new game ever. Just a really fun game, really immersive, really big open map. The first part of the game is kind of claustrophobic, like back alleys and ghettos and stuff. But once you get out of the city, it opens up, and it's really easy to grind in this game too and power up. The leveling up is really fun, and the little perks you put on your armor and your weapons, it's a really fun little system. I don't think I ever died on this game once until I got to the final boss. I was not prepared for the final boss. I went back and played another like 5 or 6 hours to get my team prep for the final boss. I was really frustrated because I was breezing through this game and I was enjoying all of it, and I got to the final boss and I got overwhelmed because I wasn't really using all of my abilities to their full potential. But man, really fun game. This is a gift from Power Player Paul. And he sent me the guide too. I didn't have to look on the internet one time when I played this. I did look up a strategy to get Gold Chocobo, but other than that, I had the guide, so I didn't look on the internet at all to play this. I didn't get stuck too many times. This is a really fun game. Really epic adventure fantasy, kind of like Final Fantasy 15, where it sort of looks like modern times, but it's sort of like fantasy. All the characters are pretty fun too. I don't think there's any of the main party I'm not really interested in on this. Awesome game. I played this on my Vita first, but then my save data got corrupted after like 30 hours and it really made me angry. And then Power Player Paul gave me this and I beat it on my PlayStation 3. Then I was able to take my save data from the 3 and put it on my PSP so I could go back and forth. Really awesome. I thought that was going to be the best RPG of the year for me until I played this. Skies of Arcadia. Sega Lace just was going on about how great this is, and I was always interested in it. Yeah, I got this at GameStop. It was like $60, which is a good deal. It actually came with the case. So I played through this. I did a lot of grinding, so it took me about 100 hours. It took me a few months to beat this, but I enjoyed every bit of it. This has got to be, I don't know, it's hard to say. I might like it a little bit more than Final Fantasy VII. I think the characters are way more relatable, and this plot's easier to follow. I like the little protagonist here, Vice. He's not emo or anything. He's just kind of like a go-getter. And all the characters are cool in here. Really epic pirate story, pirate fantasy, high adventure. It's like a pirate movie up in the sky. Like, this planet is mostly just like asteroids. I don't think there's one big planet. I think it's just like fragments of a planet, and you fly around in these airships. It's like a pirate game. All kinds of weird little civilizations to discover. It's turn battle. Turn battle is not my favorite. I prefer real time, but this is probably as good as it gets for turn battle. This game's by Sega. Overworks. Really cool game. I recommend this. Anyone never played it, this into RPGs. I haven't played many RPGs, probably less than 10 in my life, or JRPGs, maybe even less than that. But this is up on top for me. This is so good. The dungeons, it feels like a mixture of a Nintendo game and Final Fantasy VII, or it feels like Ocarina of Time combined with Final Fantasy VII. Kind of Wind Waker, because there's a lot of exploring on a ship. But man, great game. I just can't really put it into words how good this game is. I highly recommend it. Burn it on Dreamcast if you don't want to spend the money. Burn a copy for Dreamcast and play through it. It is a great game. From what I understand, this one has less random encounters than Dreamcast, but it feels like the random encounters were really high on this. The dungeons in here are amazing, like Ocarina of Time level dungeons. I really love them. Oh yeah. Okay. At the beginning of the year, this is what distracted me from LA Noire. You wouldn't think an old 8-bit or a 16-bit game would draw me in more than a modern detective game, but this is a really cool sort of like Blade Runner, like noir detective. I think Kojima made this game. It's a Konami game, so it has a lot of Konami game references. This feels really ahead of its time. I was really getting into this. You wouldn't think just with like pictures a game could draw you in. The music is great. The voice acting is great. This game really drew me in. It's like a mixture of Blade Runner, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, The Terminator. You'll see all kinds of 80s movies references in here. The guy in here, I think his name is Dr. Modner. I don't know if it's just me, but I think he looks like Dr. Mortner from A View to a Kill. I know there's a lot of 80s movies referencing in here. The guy, Random Hajil, looks exactly like Sting from Dune. And then the main guy looks like Harrison Ford from Blade Runner. He's pretty much like the same character as Harrison Ford from Blade Runner, but he's kind of more of quirky and funny, and he's really woman crazy. Man, really fun mystery. Like, I was really into this, like, more than any new game. Like, this is the first time I played it. It's just so amazing. I liked every part of this. The only time it plays, there's some first-person shooting spots, but they're very simple, but they're fun. Kind of like you just aim the reticle at the enemy that appears on the screen. Mostly just hunting, point-and-click detective work. It's all from like the first-person view. And then there's a lot of dialogue. Anyway. Yeah, this was given to me by Fred. From the Badcompany Gaming. He has a guy that makes really nice repros, and this ran great on my JVC XI. Resident Evil 2 remake. You couldn't ask for a better remake than this. This is just like the Resident Evil 1 remake was perfect. This is, I'd say, as perfect as you can get. Man, really, really good. I played it with the original soundtrack, so when I was playing this game, it's so new and the graphics are so much better than the old one, but still, when I was playing it, it sort of felt so deja vu. It almost felt like if there was there was like campaign A and B on Resident Evil 2. This sort of feels like it would be C. Like I kind of just got caught up with it, and I kind of felt like I was playing the old Resident Evil 2, but something just wasn't right. Like the graphics were too good. I think it's a lot harder than the original one. I really struggled with this. The zombies, just the regular zombies, take about 10 shots in the head to kill them, so you really have to place your shots and collect all the ammo you can. I would recommend when you get the Magnum, save all the rounds and never use them until the last boss. That's what I did. And then the last boss was a cakewalk for me because I just saved all of my Magnum ammo for him. Really, man, this game's graphics are gorgeous. Yeah, I can't say enough good stuff about Resident Evil 2 remake. Here was a surprise for me, Quantum of Solace on PlayStation 2. I played this before many times on 360. The first-person shooter, I think it's by, what is it called that does Call of Duty? Is it Treyarch? This one is Eurocom. I thought all of the versions of Quantum of Solace were the same game, just ported to weaker systems with worse graphics. This is a totally different game. This Quantum of Solace, this is probably my favorite version. I don't think it kind of went under the radar because it didn't have a two-player mode, and this was the time when PlayStation 2 was ending and PlayStation 3 was out. But just for the story mode, this is amazing. It's third person. All the others are first person shooter. This one is kind of stealth action shooter from the third person, so you see Daniel Craig. I always like the Bond games where you see Bond, because it feels more like you're watching a Bond movie or something. I don't know, I can't put my finger on it. I like to see Bond. And so there's like cover-based shooter. Really modern. It feels really modern for a PlayStation 2 game. It controls pretty well, like an Uncharted type game, and I think it's really impressive for PlayStation 2. Yeah, some of the graphics are really good. This might have some of the best graphics on PlayStation 2. It's towards the end of the PlayStation 2's life. It would have been cool to see this on the original Xbox. It probably would have looked really, really good. Yeah, so there's a lot of on-foot running chases, similar to like Bloodstone, like you chase down people, and it plays through. What makes this better than Bloodstone is this actually has a cool plot. Like Bloodstone I thought was cool, but it was kind of boring, and the enemy was boring. This one follows Casino Royale and Quantum of Solace, just like the 360 game. Some of the areas are pretty hard, and it has cute quick time events. I just really like this game a lot. Really impressive for PlayStation 2. Really good James Bond game. And then I'll finish it off with Shenmue 3. I actually beat that twice in 2019. I put money behind this, and I really wanted to see it happen, but deep down, I was kind of skeptical. I wasn't really expecting much out of it, or I wasn't expecting it to be something I would like. I know Yu Suzuki is making it, and he's making it for the fans. But it was just telling me it's not going to be something I like most modern games. But it turns out it was. I love this game. I don't know if anyone would like it. I wouldn't recommend playing this if you haven't played Shenmue 1 and 2. But, you know what? I did a whole video on this. I better shut up about it. Man, it's some of the stuff I was disappointed with, like the fighting, The fighting is fine. I just prefer the old fighting. The whole story, everything's just what I wanted. I got so engrossed in this, I forgot I wasn't playing Shenmue 2 on my Xbox. Anyway, great game. Can't say enough about that. So that's about it. That's about 20 I beat in 2019. If you haven't made a video about this yet, please do. I'm really interested in stuff like this, getting recommendations. As far as my favorite game I played this year, it's a toss-up between Castlevania, Final Fantasy VII, Skies of Arcadia, Snatcher, and Shenmue 3. It's hard to say which one. I might lean towards Skies of Arcadia, but man, any of these others could have taken it. A really great year. I was really lucky to have some free time to get through these this year. Usually it's when I get home from work and the whole family's asleep, I get home late. I kind of missed out on the gym a lot this year to come over to play games, which I got to stop doing. And as far as fighting games this year, a lot of good ones. That I probably would say Art of Fighting 3 is my favorite of the year. Oh, another one I beat was Virtua Fighter 1 on the 32X. I played it on my emulator, my Retro Bro Pi. I beat Virtua Fighter 1, which was really cool, but that was hard too. And I didn't beat Dural at the end. Now that I think about it, I should have used save states to try to beat Dural. Okay, so that's it for this week. Thanks for sticking with me this long. Bye!